Hi everyone, welcome to For the Love of Sci-Fi press conference. We're really glad to have you guys here, so thank you so much. I know people have travelled a long way to be here. So I'm going to introduce you our fantastic guests. So we've got Spencer Wilding on my left. We've got the wonderful Ferrigno.
You're the man.
We've got McLaughlin. We've got Mike Quinn. Ray Parker Jr. is just to grace us with his presence.
This is Nick. Nick Maley.
Nick Maley! I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's okay, don't worry.
This is Nick Maley, but we're not sure about Yoda, are we?
No, we're a little worried about Yoda because he's been kidnapped by Air France. You know, he lives with me in the Caribbean. It's a long way to come, and somehow they've mislaid him, but hopefully he will be here tomorrow. Otherwise, I guess I'll have to conduct the orchestra, yeah?
Nick's going to be conducting a 64-piece orchestra?
It is.
With Yoda.
Yeah.
With or without Yoda, but we're really excited about that, and lots of Star Wars songs, so very exciting times.
Yeah, Yoda as a puppet took 3 to 4 puppeteers. Mike here was one of the puppeteers on Return of the Jedi, right?
Yoda, yes,
you
correct.
operated
The right hand.
the right
of
hand.
Frank Oz.
Cool.
Yes.
There you go. And so basically they spent a lot of time setting up each of the shots. So you know, I remember certainly on Empire, you know, they would rehearse for like 2 hours for a 30-second shot, right?
True, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas what we did in Puerto Rico was, you know, 5 minutes of live action. It was the first live Yoda performance anywhere, and we're hoping to try and repeat that here tomorrow.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Anyone got any questions for our guests?
Yes.
Don't be shy, I promised they would
Hundreds.
Yes.
Right. Sorry.
I think it's more a case of who's going first.
Who would you like to ask a question to?
You went, wasn't there?
Louis, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Obviously, I remember you. I know I don't look that old, but
Just
I remember
speak
you.
up a little bit.
I remember you from obviously the Hulk. I grew up watching that, but you've also voiced the new Hulk series as well. How did you find that transition from actually playing the character of the Hulk to, you know, the work you've done on the newer films? How did you find that difference?
Well, it was great because at the time I did the series, another guy did the voice. His name was Ted Cassidy on Adam Family. He had a very deep voice. So my voice got deeper over the years. I've always wanted to do the voice. So I remember I began to do the voice on the animated cartoons, UPN. But then one time I was at New York Comic Con, and the director who directed the second Hulk, and he made a joke. He said, "Could you voice the Hulk?" I said, "Sure." So he said, "Okay, you're hired." He hired me on the spot. Because it's challenging because I've always wanted to do the voice because I know how the Hulk thinks and feels. Because the animated, the CGI is so different. So that's why I was able to do the voice and get more of the touch of the Hulk. And the interesting thing is that when they give me the dialogue to do, they won't tell me the storyline. So I had to improvise by myself in this room, you know, different sound according to the dialogue and different emotion, and they picked the best one. But I was happy to do that because basically it's like icing on the cake.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any Stranger Things questions? I'm sure we've got some Stranger Things fans here. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Caleb. So Stranger Things obviously being as big as it is and massive, do you find that you're recognised daily walking down the street?
Yes, and you know, I realized I get recognized more when it's fresh, and I'm getting older, so I start looking different, and then some people don't recognize me because they're like, I thought you were like 4 foot tall, 4 feet, and I'm like, no, I'm 17. Wow, I thought you were 9. So yeah, it's different. Like right now, I look totally different from season 2, and some people, unless you follow me, then you'll know who I am. But sometimes people don't really follow me; they'll see me from the show, and that's it. But most of the time, I get recognized a lot.
Could I just ask you a question as well, Caleb?
Sure.
So, I don't want to say child actors, but it's quite common with younger actors that they start off and the career is quite kind of like it's a boom, isn't it? And then it slowly kind of fades away. Do you have any kind of concern with that happening with you?
No, if it happens, it happens. You know, it's nothing for me to worry about, because if you worry about it, and that's how you get paranoid, and then that's when insecurity's coming, right? And suicidal thoughts. Don't need that. I'm not saying that's just how some kids are. Like you get excited about just having this fandom, and it's like, oh, people love you so much, and then when no one's giving you that attention, then people just like really, they feel like they feel wanted. They want to be wanted, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't need to worry about that.
You
I
got
just live my life.
brilliant attitude, Dave.
Now, how
Yeah,
old,
good
how old are you
attitude,
then?
yeah.
Thank you.
How old are you then?
Oh, I think 16.
There you
Yeah,
go.
16, 15. Yeah.
This is a picture, a year old. Both of us took.
Those were the days.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, but I don't worry about that at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anybody got any questions for Ray Parker Jr.? Ghostbusters is going to be singing that. Woo! Really excited about that.
Hi Ray.
If it doesn't warm up, I don't know if we can do the song. Yeah, the hands are too cold to do it again. You
As a
gotta warm it up
performer,
downstairs.
as a performer, what city, at least in the UK, do you find has the wildest crowds when you play the famous Ghostbusters theme?
Which, say it again now?
So when you're in the UK, so for instance, we're from Scotland, and anytime big artists come to Scotland, the response is always that the Scottish are wild because they really love music, so it's a party. So the question I was asking to you is, well, when you're in the UK and performing the track that you're most known for, the Ghostbusters theme, what city has the biggest?
Well, first of all, the UK, I always have a great time. I have more awards and more Grammys, if you want to call it that, or stuff that happens. UK, more records go gold here than any other country I've ever performed in. I mean, the stuff I wrote for Barry White, Skull and Gold, Shaka Khan, I mean, it just seemed like whatever I'm doing here, New Edition takes off really big. Obviously, the biggest is Ghostbusters. Princess Anne gave me the BAFTA award, which was a really, really big deal, you know.
It's amazing. My son is 3 years old, and he wears his Ghostbusters t-shirt, and your song is his favourite every day.
Thank
He
you
goes,
very much. Yeah.
Alexa, play Ghostbusters. That's my favourite song.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ray. What kind of modern day films have you kind of been drawn to? Like, do you? What am I asking? I suppose what kind of films do you enjoy the most? Kind of
To go watch?
Yeah.
The last film I saw like a couple of days ago was Creed. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Creed.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see Carl Weathers and Virginia
Yeah.
Nielsen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sorry, was you going to say?
Go ahead.
Can I just say, I mean, I represent a lot of local, young, up-and-coming actors and musicians, and they always ask, you know, for advice on what would you say now, having done what you've done. I mean, you've all done great things, in, you know, in music, in television and films. What is it that you say to people starting out now? What would you tell them to avoid or to do?
There's always two things. You know, one is stay home, let your parents pay for it all. You know. That won't work for so long. Then the other one is I always tell people, you know, you only live really one time. So I think there should be no plan B. I think just like the Army guys should burn the bridge after you cross it. And, you know, because everybody I've ever seen that went for plan B, they end up doing plan B. They say, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to be a secretary in case this doesn't work. Everybody does what in case it doesn't work. So if you're going to go out and do it, you got to go all in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think that's a critical thing because negativity is infectious.
Yes.
And those of us who are trying to do something which is not normal
Right.
are always bombarded by people who want to tell you, oh, that's
You
a
can't
risky
do that.
thing. You can't do that. Oh, you'll
Exactly.
never make it. You can be a puppeteer.
Yeah.
No, you'll be broke.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, they
punching
were right about
Judy at
that.
the end of the pier, right? They're always going to fill you full of
Yeah.
those things. And the problem with Plan B, as you so rightly raise, is the fact that it gives credence to the idea that Plan A might not work.
Exactly.
So, you know, if your
it
mother says, oh, you've got to go to you can do that if you want, but you've got to go to university and become an accountant, so you've got a backup plan. Once you've put 3 years into being an accountant, you know, you go 6 months, it didn't work out, you're an accountant. It's just, you know, if you don't have Plan B, you've got to make Plan A work.
Unless this was plan B, of course, which is fine.
And also listen to this. The two words, fall back on. fall, that's not a good word. And back, certainly not a good word. And when you put the two together and put a multiplication.
A couple of things I'd like to add to that as well would be to people should surround themselves with people that are doing what they want to do, which sort of also ties in with getting a good mentor, someone who can take them under their wing or guide them in the right direction. I think that's really important as well. So that's what I would recommend to people.
That's nice, thank you.
There is one other thing I think that needs to be mentioned. I get so many people. I in the Caribbean, I've got a museum, and we're recommended on every single cruise line. So this time of year, we've got like 6 cruise ships in every day. I get so many people who say, "Oh, and what school would you recommend?" Well, you know, the truth of the matter is, the people who teach at school are the ones who aren't cutting edge. The cutting edge people are the ones that are doing the job. The people at school that you're paying a hell of a lot of money, if it's an American school, you're paying a hell of a lot of money for, are actually the backup people. And it's much, much better taking up what you said about a mentor. It's much better to go and make the coffee and be a trainee for a cutting edge person and come up through a cutting edge group than to go pay a bunch of other people who are really only interested in selling you a course.
How do you like your coffee? I'll go get it.
So we've got Darth Vader in the house. Let's give him a round of applause. Any Star Wars questions or Darth Vader questions?
I think you should give a big hand to this guy here.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
This man put it all together.
Appreciate that.
James Earl Jones' voice.
It's hard work.
Oh, I've got my own little voice going on. I've got my own little voice going on. They gave me additional dialogue on set, you know, it's like they gave me, there's a scene when me and Krennic have a little to do with each other. And they gave me additional dialogue, it was like, don't be too sure that the Emperor is as impressed with you as you are with yourself. You know, stuff like that. Not bad for the white guy, right? You know what I mean? But I got to use the Force, choked him out. He's like, you know, that's all fun. What a great character to land, you know what I mean? And he's really opened up the doorway for all the other 40 characters I've played, and that everybody's getting to know Spencer Wilde and stuff. So it's just pretty awesome. So
Just
thanks for
following
following.
on from that, like, what kind of, or if any, did you feel pressured when you were told that you were going to be literally filling the boots of Darth Vader at all?
What? I felt pressured? Not at all. I was just like, wow. Because there's this real spirit and presence of Darth Vader, like all the other characters. He took over me, and I was just doing as I was told.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he just took direction. He was just an amazing presence, and he's a serious guy. I play around with my characters on set sometimes, but you couldn't do it with him. He was just too serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, I loved it. It's great.
Was there anything, whilst filling that role, was there anything that you really wanted to do but you didn't quite get to?
Yeah, well, you know, I didn't get to keep the Death Star. I was a bit gutted about that.
Small.
Yeah,
My job to blow on camera wouldn't work. Me choking wouldn't work. No, it's just great. I've just, you know, it's great to wear the costume, to feel the costume, and the cloak, and just the presence of him. It was just immense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was immense. So it was awesome.
Is it still a really heavy costume? It was a colossally heavy costume when they made the original.
The cloak must have weighed a couple of stone for sure. You know, it was a heavy cloak, and when we were doing all the stills and stuff, all the promotional work for it, the way you could move the cloak, you could really play with it, you could snake it, you know. And the way they put it, when you go into character, the dresses really respect you. You're Darth Vader.
Right.
Simples. They're putting it on you nice and slowly. The last thing to go on is the saber. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't mess with him. He wasn't me. You don't mess with him. You know, he's Darth Vader. And you gotta respect him, man. All hail Darth Vader.
And I would imagine the stress of it. I mean, everybody in the world knows who Darth Vader is.
Yeah.
So when they look at you, they have to see Darth Vader.
Well, my nickname's Big Spen. That's gone out the window. It's like, Darth, you know what I mean? Dark side, you know, it's everything, you know. And so many people are hitting you every day. I love it. You know, if I didn't like that side of it, I'm in the wrong job. Do you know what I mean? And it's great to meet the fans.
Thank you. Lou, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of wanted to get a couple of thoughts off you. So obviously recently Stan Lee passed away. I was just wondering if you if you met him personally, I'm sure you had, and what you kind of thought of him and his
Well,
contribution.
Stan was my whole life because at the age of 12, 13, I used to read the comic book. I remember the beginning of the comics that were written by Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And it got me into bodybuilding, into fitness. If it wasn't for Stan Lee, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
And I was close friends with him for many years because, you know, the guy lived to be 95. But I'll never forget one time I was on the set. It was the second season. They said that the guy on the set wanted to say hello to him. His name was Stan Lee. I said, Stan Lee? Stan Lee, for real. Well, he walked up. I'm in makeup, right? So I'm almost in the fitness process. And look at me, go, why don't you work out sometime? Look at yourself. And I said, this is Stan Lee. He had a funny way of talking, but he was such a brilliant guy. We became friends over the years.
Sorry,
I thought I was the only one who heard music for a minute then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but he was like a second father to me. Yeah, growing up because when I was a kid, when children, they read comic books, they're obsessed with about power. I'm obsessed with power because I had a little childhood. So I used to emulate, wanted to be like him because when he created all the characters, I was really the Hulk my whole life. But it's interesting, the characters he created, part of him was those characters. He was a great guy, he had a great sense of humor, and I've learned a lot from him.
I met him in Megacon. And it's like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I played one of his characters in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was in Ghost Rider and stuff like that, and I got myself a selfie with him, and you know, it's just, you know, he's why we're all here, really.
Yeah.
He's come out of the comic book store.
He both, is the, I don't know if you'll know this, but has he pre-recorded himself in any future Marvel
I
films?
couldn't answer
There
that.
is something coming out, isn't it, shortly?
Captain Marvel?
All I know is that anybody that got his signature on any kind of Hulk book, anything, they're going to run to me because I'm the last living Marvel hero, because people want to get my autograph, including Stan Lee, because, you know, I'm hoping that he was Stan.
One of my first memories. I used to try and run through walls when I was a kid and get myself knocked down one time every time I did it. You know, every kid here in this room. You know what I mean? The Hulk man.
Did you hear what him and I did before? We were in the boxing ring and I was sparring with him. This man can punch.
I'm only on 20%
I
at the
could
moment.
kick his ass.
Carl Willis was here like ding, ding.
No, for real. I mean, I want to be in the dark alleyway with this guy.
Oh, easy. There's people in here. I've always got your back, mate.
Yeah, I've got a question for Lou again. It's
Just
something.
speak up, sorry, can't hear you.
It's something that a lot of actors shy away from is playing themselves, and you've done it on a few occasions now. How do you find playing an exaggerated version of yourself? Is it as much fun as it
It's kind of
looks?
interesting because I did a movie called The Godson with Rodney Dangerfield and Dom DeLuise. And one night the producers, they were watching the movie. They said, why not have Lou on King of Queens, one of the episodes? So they called me, rang my phone, and they said, we have a part for you to play yourself on the show. I said to myself, play myself because I've done comedy, but what happens every day, I go through the same thing you see on the show, people screaming the Hulk, all kinds of, you know, statements. I said, sure, why not? I did one episode. That got me involved doing comedy. Then the movie came out called I Love You Man. I get to play myself in the movie. So why not? Because comedy is hard, but I enjoy doing it because I still go through that every day in life.
Yeah.
No Hulk jokes, don't call me the Hulk, stuff like that. You know, like for example, last week my neighborhood, there's a lot of construction going on, building houses. There's one guy go, hey Hulk, what you doing, Hulk? No Hulk joke. When I heard that, that's King of Queens. You can hear it yelling down the street.
It was one thing that looked very realistic was when you choked out Jason Segel. I wondered if you actually did it or not.
They were kind of real because at the time, Jason definitely go for it. I said, okay. But you can see on the way down, you can see that he was choking it down. There was a guy named Gene LaBelle. He's one of the most foremost jiu-jitsu. So they had him on the set to show him how to do the chokehold because they wanted to make it believable. But it's funny when Jason said go for it, I remember I was squeezing hard. I could just feel his throat pipe. But he played it well. But that movie, it was the best comedy of 2008. And I can't tell you how many mothers, how many girlfriends bring their boyfriends, they say to me, please put the chokehold on my boyfriend. And they have this round look on their face like, hurt him.
And I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Caleb, obviously it's been a few years since the first season of Stranger Things was filmed, but as you were kind of on set for that, Stranger Things is known for references a lot of older films and such. Did you find yourself a bit confused by some of them, or did you understand most of them?
Well, I mean, I get confused in the beginning part of it, but now I'm kind of used to it. I almost feel like I'm born in the 80s sometimes, especially being at like events with you guys. You know, it's cool. In the beginning I was like, what's that? What's that? Now it's just like, oh yeah, that's that. That's so and so, you know. But nothing too crazy anymore. I'm pretty knowledgeable.
Cool. It's good to be. Thank you.
Caleb, continuing on from that question, in the very first episode, you and the guys are playing D&D. Do you play that in real life?
No. Sadly. I know I tell everybody. Need help? I tell everybody, yeah, I'm gonna play it. Yeah, I just need to find the time. I never do. I don't know where to get it from. I just play video games like Xbox, PS4, just, you know.
Well, cameraman here, he's a Dungeons and Dragon master. So
you are.
Do you ever want to get online and play with this guy?
Novice.
Play D&D online?
He does it himself, yeah.
Oh.
Have you played Shadow of War yet?
Not yet, no.
We filmed Shadow of War in Ukraine last year, and I played Nuruk. He's a bit of a bad boy. He's cutting off heads as an 18. Shadow of War, friend or foe. But he used real actors to promote the game with makeups, like 4 actors. And we filmed in Ukraine on the Black Sea. It was 26 below.
Wow.
And I had painted blue skin. That's it. So I had 10 girls with hair dryers trying to keep me warm.
And you say his name was Luke?
Nuruk. He's an orc. Yeah, he's an orc. And you can watch the trailer. He's pretty ferocious. He's a nasty character.
Absolutely.
But he loves cutting heads off and licking blood and stuff. Off his sword. He's not right. Not right at all. Good to meet him. I'll see you later.
Luke, can I just ask, you've worked with so many people and done so many things. What would have been your highlight? I mean, person you've worked with. You've done so many things throughout your career. What would be your biggest highlight? An opportunity you've been involved in.
All the things I've done was the biggest what?
Highlight.
Sorry, it's my
favourite.
What's been
I'm just going to talk.
In my life, I would say when I first won the first Mr. Universe competition at the age of 21, I was the youngest person to win the competition. And before then, everyone speculated, saying that I would never be a world champion. And I was so determined to prove to myself to win the competition, because I wanted to be one of the best in the world. When that happened, I realized that because I embraced my passion and something I want to achieve, I felt like I'm doing something right. This is my vehicle to be successful. That was like probably the highlight, because that opened the doors for everything else. Because growing up as a kid, I had to deal with hearing issues, speech issues. I was bullied my whole life. So it was all about the naysayers, negativity. But I kept following my path, my passion. So that I would say was the highlight. That was like the greatest victory in my life. Beautiful. I have many more victories after that, but that was like the beginning.
Ray, you're also obviously a really experienced
That
film
means
actor.
I'm old. Okay, but go ahead.
I said nothing. I was just kind of wondering, because I'm studying TV production and stuff like that. I was wondering what kind of things. So, like, working with directors, what have been your favourite kind of traits within them as a professional? Like, what kind of makes you feel at ease, or that you like working with them?
Who says I like working with directors?
if you do.
Well, first of all, I've been successful at it, but the problem with working with a director is it's his idea. You got to satisfy him.
Yeah.
As opposed to if I'm just making a record, I just satisfy me and the people, right? And the director, because he cut the film, he has something in his head that he's imagining that he can't get out of his head on paper to explain to you. So you have to kind of go with what he's explaining. And he's like, a little more purple, a little more orange. You're like, what does that mean? And the worst case I've ever had is there was a cartoon I was doing, and they had me slaving on this thing because they needed it by next week, and I stayed up day and night for a week. And I went to the meeting. They said, "Oh, we cut that out 2 weeks ago." we cut that out of the script. You know, like nobody told me, and I've been up like day and night. You know, and so it can be a lot of fun, but it can be kind of disastrous too. So it's an interesting thing.
I've got a question. Caleb, so you had an episode in Stranger Things where you guys dressed up as the Ghostbusters. What was that like?
Oh.
What Ray Parker Jr.?
Well, I just showed you. Did you see the picture?
Yeah, I saw the picture.
I got a picture with
Yeah,
What was it like?
it was okay. Don't get mad. I didn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
So it was still super cool because I knew about Ghostbusters and songs and everything, the fandom around it. So it was pretty amazing to be like it was another part of history, like Ghostbusters, but then Stranger Things Ghostbusters. And then when it came out and how people loved it so much, it was just kind of cool to be a part of that, love. Of like,
Part of that legacy.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Would you? Hey, what? Are we part of the legacy?
You're part of the legacy. I heard it was
Legacy.
your biggest episode.
Yeah, it was.
So,
Yeah.
In fact, maybe before it's over, I'll do who you gonna call it. You two guys can do Ghostbusters on the camera.
Whoa.
I'll show it to the guys at Sony. See what
Oh
they
yeah,
think.
okay, cool.
Have a little fun.
The Marshmallow Man would just walk in and be behind
Put a big costume on. They sell that too.
Stay in white.
Oh, you just volunteered, thanks. Any more questions just before we wrap up?
I just had one more for Nick, and is it Tom?
Mike.
Mike.
Yes.
Mike.
The other Tom.
Tom earlier,
Yes.
Nick,
Yeah.
Nick and Mike.
The new Tom.
When I couldn't quite tell you the year, but there was a certain point within the mid-noughties that George Lucas started to, implement a lot of CGI into his films. What did you two kind of think of that at the time? Did you feel it kind of belittled your work?
Well, let's see. Who's going to answer first? Okay. Well, let's see. At the time, it made a lot of sense because it was an emerging new technology, and of course, you have to see how far you can go, and what does that mean. And of course, it's ever changing even now, so it's very much a fluid, liquid thing. But he was also about using set extensions and digital sets as well as digital characters. So it had to be explored. George had talked about making films digitally for decades anyway, way before it was even possible. So I understood that, I got that. But I think there came a time where like when Slice Noodles was replaced in Jabba's Palace with the CG one, where it became a little bit cartoony and that kind of thing. So maybe it didn't quite fit into the world in my mind. And now that they've returned back to the physical Yoda puppet in The Last Jedi, that satisfied me a lot because there's just something real about the way Frank's hand is inside Yoda, the kinetics and the way he holds the head. It's all very much that all informs his movement really.
Ultimately, you can't ever get from a cartoon or something that is put together in layers that has been. You're analyzing a movement in a animation to such an extent that you don't get the sense of fluidity that you get from a performer, a puppeteer. We went through a stage in the 80s where we took what was originally cable-operated puppets and started to do more and more with motors and hydraulics and other things. And in Life Force, I had a transformation sequence I did. We had 23 puppeteers and 3 computers, operating radio-controlled pieces. Motors, like animations. They don't have the same nuance as a muscle has.
It's just
the movement of a muscle.
Can't do it.
Everyone talks about animatronics. They focus on tronics. Yeah. They focus on what kind of motors do you use and what kind of computer. You know what? Any motor, any push rod is gonna never move in the softness. And I deliberately, when I'm making animatronics, I design sponginess into the mechanism, the exact opposite to what an engineer would do, so that you get a softer, organic movement. When we had, when they were doing episode 1, I lobbied Lucasfilm to keep Yoda as a puppet. because I knew that there would be a temptation
Yeah,
for them
right.
to go with the animation. They had a lot of animated characters, but they did keep Yoda as a puppet. What I never imagined that they would do was to resculpt him, make him out of a
Right.
different material, make him twice the weight that he was
Yeah,
originally.
That just didn't look like him in
it
the
didn't
end.
look right at all,
Yeah.
right? So when they went to the animation, I couldn't complain. Which is the answer to your original question. How did I feel about it? I couldn't complain because I felt that the animation in episode 2 was better than the
Right, it
puppet that
was.
they built in episode 1,
If I
right?
could add to that, I actually animated on that. I went to ILM so I could animate Yoda because I wanted there to be a continuity from Return of the Jedi. I got pulled away to do Jurassic Park 3, so by the time I got back from all the dinosaurs, a lot of the stuff had already been done. But I think it almost got there. I mean, a lot of people said that you couldn't have got the things in episode 2 with a puppet that they did with animation, and I actually think that's not correct because you use separate puppets and rigs and entries and bunraku, like rotted arms and legs and that kind of thing. So you can act, when you think of what Jim Henson did in his films and things and all his special sequences, you pretty well can do anything with a puppet, but it just has to be planned out and storyboarded. So it would have. The thing is, George doesn't know puppets. He's, you know, the last time I saw George Lucas, I actually asked him the question, what do you think about puppets in film now? And this was about 8 years ago or something, you know, maybe even longer. And he just looked up at me and said, well, they're for the stage now. They have no place in film anymore. He just been to see The Lion King on stage and he loved it. And he said that's where puppets belong now. But of course, you know, now they've all come back around, and Star Wars is full of creatures and foam latex again.
Exactly.
And even just, I was thinking when you were talking about how you build things. Little Shop of Horrors, 1986. We had up to 60 puppeteers on that plant. On the biggest plant. And it was all foam rubber. It was all people, you know, inside the plant moving the mouth, and we're all under direct cable controls. And there's no way you could have gotten that with. At the time, I remember thinking, when are they going to invent CG? This is hurting.
After they'd done episode 2, I saw an interview that one of the guys had, and he was talking about how they managed to give Yoda 5 expressions. And I really stop and think about it and say, well, hold on a second, you know, you get more expression out of doing that with with Yoda's mouth. A whole range of nuances, changes of expression. 5 expressions, that's going back to cartoons, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things about Stewart's fabulous sculpt of Yoda that he did, he sculpted Yoda with a lot of different expressions already in the face. You know, when someone is intrinsically sad, what's called physiognomy is a study of people's faces and how you interpret their personality. So you say, well, my first impression of him was, that's actually your instinct, say, looking at how someone's used their face over the course of many years and getting the sense of it. Someone who's intrinsically sad, who's smiling at you, still looks like a sad person smiling, right? And Yoda had, you know, he had smiling eyes, but he didn't have big puffy cheeks. He had sallow in his cheeks. He had some sadness. He had some sense of having been through a lot of different experiences. When you do a cartoon, he's either smiling or he's frowning. The cartoonist has got to do, I'm not quite sure whether they were doing 12 animated images per second, or whether they were going for 24, whether they did all 24 or whether they did 12 and blurred them. But the issue there is, after a while you say, oh, it's only a 12th of a second, you know, no one will really notice, and he becomes a fuzzy ball that's either smiling or not.
Yeah, and often things get over animated too, and the soul can get lost, I think, in that's what I found in the stuff I did in episode 2 with Yoda. He just didn't have the same soul, and it took like 2 weeks to do a 5-second shot, whereas we could have done that in 20 minutes.
Yes,
on
exactly.
set, you know, and it would have looked better. That's the thing.
And there's also the issue over cost. You know, people say, "Oh, but lots of things you couldn't afford to do that anymore." You know, build the whole
They do
thing.
say that, don't they?
They do. They say it all the time. But you know, the truth of the matter is, the cost of living has gone up 500% since we made Empire Strikes Back, and the cost of making movies has gone up 800%. And if you look at when they made the guys who were making the spaceships fly from place to place, there was about 6 of them gluing bits of Airfix kit onto bits of plywood to make that happen, and about another 3 of them that were filming it. Just look at the 4 minutes of credits in the animation department, and you can't tell me that even if those people are cheap, you can't tell me that costs less than the 8 people who did it originally.
I agree.
Thank you.
I have a question for you guys. So, don't you guys decide how it's going to be done, or is it you
For our own
recommend-
projects,
some extent.
like you with your music. Yeah, when you're working on your own stuff, you can. But,
Yeah.
it was an animatronic. Just build it.
One of the things that happens there is, you know, the director often will have a fixed idea, as you so rightly said, and that can. If that is too rigid, that ends up being a rod for your back. Because sometimes you say, it's a bit like saying you don't employ a plumber and then tell the plumber how to glue the pipes together, right? You know, if the plumber says, if you say, I want the pipe for the hot water to go 3 times around the room and out again, they say, that's really not a good idea, it's going to be cold by the time it comes out the tap, right? You should at least listen to that, right? And so, there is a certain degree that some of the best effects I think that I did were done when I had directors that would come and say, what are we going to do? How are we going to get the best impact out of this? I mean, one of the... Yes, right, exactly. I worked on a couple of movies where the directors were so specific that we wasted a huge amount of time testing things that they told them weren't going to work in the first place.
This would be a great documentary for you guys to do.
Yeah. just to give you some insight, you know, the hardest job I ever had was the Ghostbusters job, because they spent a year or so hiring all kind of famous people. Nobody could write the song. Wow. And I think, well, it can't be that difficult. So I'm in with the director, and he's telling me what he wants musically. I'm like, okay, we'll get there. You got the bar groove, got the boom, boom. Then he threw a curve. He says, but I want the words Ghostbusters in the song. Right now, it's not fair because you guys have heard it now. But if you try to sing it, Ghostbusters, it's a terrible word. I mean, it's it's like say you're going to go around the building 20 times just to get the water out. You know. And I fell down the stairs by accident. Got lucky because there's a part of the film that had the commercial in it with the phone number. And then I was looking at Roto-Rooter and all that stuff on TV at 4 in the morning. And I was sleepy, so I thought, well, that's it. I just say, who you gonna call? They were saying, who you gonna wash your trouble out there? Oh, who you gonna call? That's it. And so I made it. So I said, I'm never gonna say Ghostbusters because I can't make that work, you know. And that was the only way that I got it to work. You know?
But you were given the space to do that.
Yeah. So once he heard that, that worked. But I don't think I ever would have got the words Ghostbusters singing it in the song. It just didn't work, you know.
Wow.
And that's why they were so frustrated. They spent
That's
over a year.
brilliant.
Last 2 final questions before we wrap up.
I've got another question for Lou.
Speak up, sorry.
It's I don't want to say it was a long time ago, but a while ago you retired from professional bodybuilding. Obviously that takes a lot of drive, a lot of hunger. I wonder, have you replaced that with anything else now? Have you replaced the...
So he said a long time ago, you've given up kind of bodybuilding, you retired, and he said, how have you replaced that kind of passion and enthusiasm? Like because obviously you spent a long time getting into shape for bodybuilding.
Well, you said, you know, I came back in competition.
Yeah.
The question is,
are you still doing it now?
Yeah, he did. He came. Do you want to tell him about that?
okay.
Excuse me.
I retired when I did Pumping Iron with your favorite governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was 23 then.
Yeah, wow.
So anyways, it was a great competition. I've always wanted to win with the Olympia competition. So I ended up doing the Incredible Hulk TV series. And then I did other TV series. And one morning I woke up, I kept training, but not with the training for competition, training for myself. So one morning I woke up, I was like 41 years old, and I said to myself, I think I want to compete again because I felt I was unfinished business. I was 268 pounds when I competed in pumping iron. Arnold was 228 pounds. So I literally trained for 2 years. I come back to competition. I got my weight up to 325 pounds, 2% body fat. When I competed in pumping iron, I was the younger competitor. So now, when I came back to competition, I was the oldest competitor. So the challenge for me, I had to develop the hunger to compete again. So I could not look like the 70 bodybuilders. I had to look like the 90 bodybuilders because bodybuilding had changed tremendously. Because not just the women, but the guys that put in more and more muscle on their body. Like, for example, my height maybe 268. Now you got these guys like 5'10", 5'11". They weigh that much. So I had to go beyond that pain barrier, beyond my expectation, be the best I can be. And I'm glad I did that because I wanted to prove to myself that I could be in the best shape of my life. Because if I haven't done that, I would have felt kind of, depressed because it's like unfinished business. My whole life is about challenges, and I should go after it no matter what, because I don't want to be sitting in a wheelchair, at the rocking chair at 85 saying that I should have. So it was a great challenge for me. But since then, I still have that passion. I still train every day. I still train the same. I would train as heavy. But basically, that's my whole path. That's why even to today, at the age of 65, no one looked like me like 65 because I'm always giving 100%. But like answering your question, that whole period of the 17-year layoff, I hold the longest retirement record to come back to competition. 17 years.
I don't mean to interrupt, but just answered another part of how 4-person question is turning into. You said, what would you tell the young people?
Yeah.
My biggest fear was if I didn't do it, turning 50, saying I wish I woulda, shoulda, coulda. And that drove me more than anything. Right? I didn't want to be one of those people having kids and your kids says, oh, Dad, we have to hear about how great you would have been and had you done it. I wish I would have, could have. So.
I think also the word that you kept on using there was passion. The ultimate thing, people ask me a lot, how do you get in to do something? How do you, how did I do it? I say, well, what you really want to know is how are you going to do it, right? The real issue with any of those things is if you don't have the passion that drives you to do more than the next guy, if you don't have the passion that makes you the one that stands out in the crowd, then you're not going to get through achieving anything that is exceptional. It's normal to take your standards from the people around you.
Kenny to the office, please. Kenny to the office. Thank you.
If you join a group of muscle builders, then that's just a new group of, there's a new average, right? It's normal to take your standards from the people around you. But another word for normal is standard, and average people get killed in video games. So, you actually, the whole reason that they talk about someone being exceptional is because you have to make an exceptional effort. And you can only do that, and you can only maintain that if you have that passion that you were talking about.
You have to go for anything because a lot of us, we have what you call a fear factor. And you have to, that's why I talk worldwide about this, because you have to embrace your fears, because a lot of people, they have their safety net, they have their voice in their head, they talk fake confident, but the thing is you have the safety net. Like for example, you take some people that keep saying, oh, I want to lose weight, they start to lose weight, but then suddenly they go backwards because they can't handle the success. Other people, they consume huge amounts of alcohol because they can't see what reality was like. But like you said, it's important when you have a passion, go beyond that passion, because that passion grow into other things to be successful. I don't care if it's a shoelace or a toothbrush, it doesn't matter because it's how you embrace that passion, because you embrace that passion, that makes you rich yourself. It's not about competing with other people, it's about competing with yourself.
I just love you even more now.
In turn, it inspires other people.
Yeah,
it dribbles out like a pond dribble.
Yeah. Anybody can change anything. See, life is about choice. It's all about choice. You can't blame other people. It's all about choice. Right, Amy?
It is.
Hey, by the way, let's give this woman a hand. She put a great job to put it together.
That concludes our press conference, guys.
Can I have one picture, please? Just looking this way, because I missed the picture.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There you go.
Ready?
Hang on. Here we are.